everybody, Ringy Worm here. We're doing another video review. This time we're going to take a look at the 1/6 scale Catwoman figure from The Dark Knight Rises. I'm pretty excited about this particular character. This was not cheap by any stretch of the means because I didn't buy this until a lot later. But this is the 1/6 scale version of Catwoman. This is a Sideshow exclusive edition. I don't know necessarily what that means as far as what you get extra. She doesn't come with a lot. She comes with basically the pistol you can see in her hand, and she comes with extra hands, and I think that's literally it. She doesn't come with a whole lot. But this is the MMS 188 version of Catwoman, or Selina Kyle, from The Dark Knight Rises. So guys, in the last video we talked about why Ben Affleck's Batman is the best Batman. Today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about The Dark Knight Rises and that type stuff from this character and why I love this particular movie. So again guys, just a reminder, these videos that I'm doing aren't necessarily about the figure reviews themselves, even though I'm going to talk about them quite a bit. It's more about why I love the movie and why you should buy this particular figure because of that fact. So before we get started, if you guys could, I would really like it if you would subscribe to my channel. Click that little bell icon on your screen, because that'll give you notifications when I do new movies. New videos, and we'll discuss a lot of different things. So as you can see guys, I have the background again as the Gotham City skyline. I like that background, so I'm going to stick with it for right now. When I get into some different characters, I'll switch it. But just a reminder, I did change that because of it just was so boring in that black background and whatnot. And when I did the Transformer videos, it really helped, I think, bring it alive with the different backgrounds. So we're going to try this for a while, see if we get any good feedback from fans and whatnot. And we'll go from there. So let's talk about this particular movie. So The Dark Knight Rises. Guys, this movie, I think, killed it at the box office. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a great continuation of the story. I think it did the Dark Knight, at least the Batman Begins franchise, it did a great service. There are some things I didn't like about the movie. Specifically, I didn't like Bane's voice. I think most people would agree with that. I didn't like that they used the Blake character as the Robin fill-in. I think if you're going to do that, you should at least called him. I think you should have called him. Oh, my brain. Dick Grayson. I think you could have done that. He was an orphan. You could have easily have called him Dick Grayson. You could have called him Richard in the movie. There's a lot of things you could have done differently that would have gave you the impression that he was. You could have still done the same reveal. You could have said, yeah, I go by this name, but my real name is Dick Grayson. There's a lot of things that I think you could have done in the movie, but what we're talking about today is the Selina Kyle character. Now, the great part about this character, guys, is she is super articulate. It's one of the first Hot Toys that did the real hair. So, like, the new Wonder Woman has real hair. I like everything. I mean, you can see the little hair paint right that they put on the figure, which I really like. Her headpiece, as you can see, is red, just like in the movie, and it comes down over her eyes just like it did in the movie as well, which I really, really like. I keep it up. Obviously, I want her to look like Catwoman, but, you know, your different takes on it. Now, the mask is removable. I don't want to remove it because it's on there really tight. I'll put up a picture of what she looks like. Gotta get that on the right way. I'll put a picture of what she looks like. Hang on a second. Alright, so I lied. I did end up taking the mask off because when I was fiddling with it, it came detached from the back. So if you look at the back of it, it just has if I can show you here, it's got a little clasp on it that came undone. So I ended up taking it off anyway. But as you can see, it's a great representation of Anne Hathaway, in my opinion. I don't love the hair, but once the mask is on her hair, it really doesn't bother me at all. She's a great figure. Very, like I said, very posable. She stands really well on her own, but she comes with a base, and I'll show that here really quick before we get too much into it. She comes with this base that kind of looks like water dropping, and then you have the broken bat symbol. It makes it look like she stepped on it and whatnot. And then, like I said, I mean, just it's a great figure overall. I'm gonna put the headpiece back on, and then we'll continue from. Just a piece of advice, everyone: if you get that mask on, don't take it off, because it was a pain in the butt to get back on. Anyway, so obviously that's something I didn't love about the figure. The biggest thing that I want to talk about today in this video is like. The Christopher Nolan Batman, which is an absolutely fantastic representation of a modern day take on the Dark Knight. So basically, if I had a lot of money and I wanted to create a character based on my own instilling fear on somebody, the Dark Knight is definitely the Christopher Nolan Batman is definitely the way that you would end up going and doing that. The main reason why I say that is because in so many ways the characters really aren't the characters they portray from the comic book. And I'll give an example. This is Selina Kyle. Obviously everyone knows that Selina Kyle was Catwoman from Batman, but she is never ever called Catwoman. She's never called Catwoman. So her persona, even though is really, really good adaptation, and I think that the woman that played this character did an absolutely fantastic job playing Anne Hathaway. I think she did an absolutely fantastic job playing the part. But again, she was more of a cat burglar, not necessarily Catwoman. So again, there's a lot of liberties you gotta take with the Christopher Nolan Batman, because these characters aren't like they are from the comic book. There's no lore based behind them. There's no in-depth character building. And I'll give you an example. When Selina Kyle is introduced in the movie, she was hired to steal Bruce Wayne's fingerprints. She's doing it because she's trying to clean up her record, because she's got a lot of she's got a history. The cops know who she is, etc., etc., etc. So when her character is brought to the screen, she's got that kind of desperation from it. Definitely, she's really good at what she does, and I don't want to take away from that. But we have to be real about the characters. I think Anne Hathaway played a better Catwoman, in my opinion, than the Michelle Pfeiffer did. And I love that Catwoman, but it was very, very comical more than it was a serious character. And you didn't get any take on where Selina Kyle came from in this movie. And because the Christopher Nolan series is over, we're never really going to know where she come from, other than the fact that she was a cat burglar. So guys, the Christopher Nolan Batman's probably the best take that I've ever seen on how Batman would come to be if somebody in the real world was to make it. But it's not the real Batman and the real story. And if I offend anyone with that, again, I apologize. But I just want to make sure that we're clear on it. So let's talk about this figure a little bit before we get into any more discussion. So if you get really close, you can see the detail in her costume. The fabric is really nice. I love her boots, her legs. She's very, very posable. Probably the best posable figure that I have in my collection, bar none. Her clothing does not restrict her movement at all. She fits the character very, very well. This zipper does come down. I've seen it in other videos, but she's got under garments in. So in case anybody wants to know, I'm just showing you how much detail is in the actual costume, just so you know. You can see the zipper goes all the way down. I love her arm gauntlets, whatever you want to call them, these gloves. They go all the way up to here, and again, they're very, very flexible. They don't hinder her movement at all. I love the red lipstick. I love the way her eyes and everything turned out. Like I said, I don't love her without. I don't love her the way she's. Oh goodness, I almost dropped her there. I don't love her her hair off of the figure itself. I like it with the headdress on or the mask on. I think it makes a lot better for everything that is going on. So I just wanted to touch base with you guys on that. Like I said, her articulation is really good. This is a Sideshow Collectibles. Now I want to talk about Sideshow and Hot Toys really quick. So Sideshow is the authorized dealer. I talked about that in another video. Oh, I just lost my background. Gosh, I gotta pay attention to my video. I'm having all sorts of fun with it today. I guess that's what happens when you try something new. Things go wrong. So I want to talk really quick about how to get this figure. So if you go to eBay, and I showed in another video how you can do that, or if you go to Big Bad Toy Store or whatever. I don't know if you can get this on Big Bad Toy Store or some of the other stations, but if you go to Sideshow Collectibles, you almost have to pre-order the items. Unless the item isn't a popular item, like the 1/6 scale Jor-El, or the Joker version of Batman from the Suicide Squad or something like that. Most of the time you have to pre-order these figures, and if you pre-order them, she most likely cost around $250 originally, but because I had to buy her from eBay, I ended up spending, I think, $350 to $400 on her character. So these are not cheap, and you got to understand that if you're going to get into this world, if you don't collect directly from Sideshow, you're going to have to buy from third party, and third party is not going to be cheap. Okay, so just understand that going in with this character. Now, if you get the Bat Pod, which is the motorcycle looking thing from the Dark Knight, to go with this character, you're looking at between $500 and $700 minimum for that. If you get the Batmobile, the 1/6 scale Batmobile, or the Bat for this, you're looking at closer to $1,500. Now, I don't have any of those items in my collection because I have a hard time justifying that expenditure for one item. But when I bought the Batman from the Dark Knight Rises, that cost me over $400. So you might be able to get them on eBay cheaper. I have seen them cheaper, but with shipping and handling, it's pretty much close to the same price I ended up paying for it anyway. Just understand it's going to cost you a little bit more money. Especially when it's a character like Catwoman that is so much more desirable to have in your collection. When I bought The Dark Knight Rises, first of all, I love The Dark Knight from that movie. I love his character. I think he's just fantastic. So like when I say Ben Affleck is the best Batman, which I did in an earlier video, I'm not saying that Christian Bale was a bad Batman. I loved his take on the character. I just don't feel like he is a comic book version of Batman. This is a comic book adaptation set in real life, whereas the other one is a movie based on a comic book adapted for the silver screen. And I think that Anne Hathaway is, in my opinion, the best Catwoman we've seen today. Here's some things I love about this particular Catwoman. I think her costume pulls heavily from the Julie Newmar Catwoman from the Adam West Batman, and I love that fact. But it also gives practicality to her costume. So the costume itself, like the glasses that she wears on her head that look like cat ears, those are practical. She uses those throughout the film. Like I said, she's very posable. She is very much a cat burglar, or dresses in dark colors because she's intending to rob you kind of scenario. But if you also notice, she doesn't use a whip at all in the movie. And why would she? Because it's not a very practical tool to use. It was used in the Michael Keaton 1992 Batman. But a lot of great elements of nostalgia that are put into this character. But again, if you're a fan of the comic books, you have to be real about Christian Bale. He was a good Batman, but he wasn't the comic book Batman in any facet. And I don't think Selena Kyle here was Catwoman in any facets from the comic book, but she definitely was a good representation for that type character set in real world, a real world environment. So going back to the character, again, this is the MMS 188 figure from Hot Toys. It's the sideshow edition of the character. I don't know if there's a lot of difference in the other editions. I have this in my collection. Going back to buying the Dark Knight from the Dark Knight Rises, I just felt like he had to have her with him. And that's why I ended up buying her. I don't have the Heath Ledger Joker because, guys, he is incredibly expensive. He is at least $400, the same price I bought Batman, but I think he's closer to $1,000 because he's such a popular character. So again, if you're going to get into these collectibles with Sideshow and Hot Toys, you've got to understand there's going to be some serious cost involved. I think I did an add up of all the Hot Toys I have, just the Hot Toys, and I have over $7,000 worth of Hot Toys. I might be off on that figure, but I'm pretty sure that's how much I've spent on all these figures. So again, guys, you got to be aware of the expenditure. If you can't afford these things, there are better options for you in the 1/12 scale, in the statue genre, in the there's different collectibles that you can get into. So you just have to understand what these are gonna run you if you end up buying them. As far as this particular figure goes, I love having her in my collection, guys. I hope that this video illustrates that a little bit. Like I said, a couple other things that I didn't show that I'll get to show. I love this metallic color on her boots. It's just absolutely fantastic. Her ankles do pivot and do all that other type stuff, so you can get different poses on her standing. Her legs do move out and in. The fabric is very, very, very flexible. You can move her very, very easily. Just absolutely fantastic figure, guys. And I hope that you can see from this video. Here's another thing that I like about the figure, and I really don't want to take this out of her hand, but I'm going to do it anyway. So the thing that I love about the Hot Toys and Sideshow Collectibles is you could see this pistol here it's just a pistol, but there's a couple elements to it that give you an element. So it's got a clip. Guys, it's got a clip, and there's a little bullet round that looks like it's in it, just like I showed you in the Batman v Superman Batman, and then it ratchets back. The weapon ratchets back just like a real weapon does. And I thought that is just such a nice touch. And they don't have to do this, guys. They don't have to put that level of detail into these figures. I mean, if you're displaying these on the shelf, you would never know that it did that. I mean, it's not like you can see it from a perspective of you can't see her doing that, But like I said, the poses. One thing I love about this, if you look. She looks like, that looks like a real person holding a weapon right there. And that's what makes Hot Toys so awesome. So guys, I hope that you get a little bit of a sense from the videos. And you saw me just pose her right then and there. I didn't have to do anything spectacular. I just moved her hands into place. That's how much posability you get. You get a double joint for her elbow that allows it to really get up there close to her head. And I love that, and I like her kind of more in a stretched out type pose. Makes it look kind of like I just like that better than the other pose. But there's so many things that you can do with these characters to make them feel real and all other type stuff. So the biggest thing is, guys, is I'm a collector because it takes me to a place that makes me feel like a kid again, and in a good way. And these figures that Sideshow and that Hot Toys is putting out really helps bring that feeling to life. I mean, I have other things. I have statues that are, you know, they're stuck in one pose, and I'll show you that really quick here. So this is a DC. This is not the same scale as this Catwoman. She's a lot smaller. You can see that's her standing on the. So she's a lot smaller. I can't remember what the scale is on this, but this is a great Catwoman too. And you can see she's got the whip, more of a traditional kind of Catwoman look. But she doesn't pose or do anything else like that. This is only about $60, guys. This one right here versus the $400 or the $350 that I spent on that particular Catwoman. So again, there are options for you out there other than the Hot Toys. But part of the reason why I'm doing these videos is to illustrate why these are great figures to buy and what they really mean to me. So I hope I've illustrated that in this video. If not, I would love your feedback, and we'll have that discussion down in the comments. Guys, I'm trying to keep these videos to about 22 minutes or whatever. I haven't been doing a very good job of that lately. So I'm going to wrap this video up with, guys, The Dark Knight, one of the best Batman representations that I can remember in history, but not my favorite Batman to be sure. This, however, is my favorite version of Catwoman by far. Anne Hathaway just nails this character in my opinion, and I really am happy to have her in my collection. You might feel differently. That's how I feel. She really goes well with Batman, and I'll put that picture up of how I have her displayed in my case. I have her actually on another video, so you might be able to check that out as an opener. But she's absolutely a fantastic character. Look for her on different places like eBay, Amazon, Big Bad Toy Store, whatever. I don't think you can get her just anywhere because they don't make a million of these things. They only make a certain amount, but she is available on eBay. I have seen her. You can pick her up there. Guys, please like and share this video. Subscribe to my channel. Make sure you click on that little bell icon to get notifications when I do new videos. And you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.